Welcome to the next episode of our tennis podcast, where we try to discuss the mental aspect of the tennis game. And my name is Ladislav Svarc. I'm a former Davis Cup player from Slovakia, and I'm talking with Martin Blaho, who was also a former great player, now a tennis coach, mental coach, life coach, and studying psychology in the university in Athens, Greece. So I I was thinking to myself, we never introduced to our audience, so I have to do a little introduction. What do you think, Maciek?
I think I was actually thinking the same yesterday, and but I didn't know it would come so soon. But yeah, it's great, and it feels very official. I feel a bit of pressure now. It's like it's very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
serious, but I like it. It's
Because I thought we are not Joe Rogan, that everybody knows us and we just can just swing it. So we have to do the proper introduction, everything. Okay, so as usual, I prepared three questions, and I was thinking maybe I just put it out there just from the beginning, so the people who are watching, they can switch to the questions they are most interesting in, and then I have a little story from today, and we can start with that. So the first question, uh, it's children playing like they owe something to their parents, maybe to their coaches. That's one of the questions. Then very emotional players, how to be there for them, and why,
Hmm.
as a coach and maybe as a parent. So how to work with them from our perspective. And then, which is also personal, but I know that it's for you a little bit personal because you have also a player in this age. The question is, or the topic is, sudden change between age 14 to 15, like what is happening with the players with the
Hmm.
puberty and everything, and how quickly it can change. So because now I'm experiencing the change. So yeah, these are the topics I would like to discuss today. And also there's one more we can start with, that because like it's just smooth transition from the last episode we had, where we were talking about growth mindset and fixed mindset. So today I was playing a paddle match, and we lost against player we normally should beat. But it was interesting how I was, like, after the match, I was trying, I was observing that I was a little bit in the fixed mindset, and then I switched it to the growth mindset. It was like after the match, I was like, "Ooh, I don't play anymore, and I'm too old for this game already, and I don't want to play anymore somehow because I'm losing against these players. Normally, I'm not supposed to lose against them, but then I was aware of it, and then I switched to the growth mindset, and I was like, what is the thing I am I have the most regrets? Like we were talking about Rafa Nadal, he was like, he always had a fear that in the end of the day he will be disappointed because he didn't try as much as he could. And I was giving myself the question, do I have any regrets? Could I could have done maybe something more? And my only regret was that I somehow, and that's the question, or that's the thing I would like to talk about. I a little bit lost my head. My coach used to tell me, just don't lose your head, and meaning is like, don't somehow, don't be that emotional, but just always remember about the tactic. Remember what you should do. Remember how to maybe try to like figure out what is happening, and just try to be open-minded, or not to, yeah, to have the cool head
Mm,
somehow.
mhm,
So, and that was the only thing what, when I realized, I directly, I wanted to play again. I wanted to go to the next match, to tomorrow, and after tomorrow, and to try how it is not to lose the head, and to
mhm,
be really like to have it under control somehow. Yeah,
mhm.
so that's the little story. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, and you know how my mind works. It's like we make a joke between the two of us that's like ChatGPT, but sometimes I feel like it's crazy because the moment you say something, for
Mhm.
me, I was because I was so many years, I was obsessed with like, gaining knowledge and studying and watching all these like different, tennis coaches and psychologists and, mental coaches and this. Then what happens is like you ask a question and my mind starts like throwing so many different ideas that I like read or heard somewhere and this and then there, so it's a fun. We have to go one by one because now I'm getting so many things. But it's cool. I think let's just start. We can start with the last one, the not losing your head,
Yeah,
and not literally.
yeah,
Because if you lose your head literally, then you don't have any more problems. That's
yeah,
fine. Um, but I think, and you can tell me your experience, what you mean by, I'm guessing what you mean by losing your head. Do you mean that you let the emotions kind of take over and that you're not able to focus on the playing and the strategy and what you want to
exactly,
do, and you're more just kind of lost in this
exactly.
emotional storm? I think.
Exactly. And you're giving your best, and you fighting, but you like you don't have a clear mind, or you just uh like from the beginning it's like, okay, if the opponent does this, I'm gonna do this. My serve is like this, okay, there, when we're returning, we are doing this, and it's like clear, and we have the plan as a team maybe, or as me personally. But then something happens, we had some chances, important point, whatever, the momentum shifts, or we just have a bad luck and we are break down, and then it's like we have to break them back, and you just, you're not
Yeah.
focusing anymore.
I think there's two ways to look at it. And like first thing we have to realize that what we're talking about is what we call like a heightened state. So you're in a heightened state of arousal, we say like in psychology, which means like as compared to, for example, now, you and me are just sitting here and talking, or for example, if somebody's listening, they're probably like just sitting there listening, and we're kind of in this neutral state that like nothing is happening, right? But the moment like there will be, a loud crash outside or somebody with whatever, we go into this aroused heightened state, which is more a reaction to a threat, or like, do I fight? Do I run? So we kick into our what we call sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight kind of survival mechanism, right? And and there's many factors that affect whether we are in this like, parasympathetic, which is like the calm and rest and growth and regeneration and kind of relaxed state, or we're more in this, the sympathetic, which is more the fight or flight, the reactionary state. And I would like to start, I think, that we need to take into account that because a lot of times we think it's only emotional and mental, we have to take into account the physical also, because we all know, not just in tennis, that when you're hungry or you haven't slept well or you're cold or any of these primal needs are not met, it's much easier to get like angry or sad, or, the nervous system is much more sensitive. So when it comes to tennis, we have to take into account also that, like how tired you are, how long the match is going on. how many matches you played before, maybe how did you sleep the night before or the multiple nights before, maybe you ate something that doesn't sit well. So there's so many things that go into mental health and that kind of, staying cool more than just, controlling emotions. And I think it's important to say because a lot of times we can be really hard on ourselves, and especially nowadays when psychology has become like a hot topic and everybody, like everything's in the head and it's all mental. Um, we can be very hard on ourselves and be like, you should be able to like, how did you not, why did you lose your head? And sometimes maybe, like I said, you're just tired or hungry or like you had a fight with your girlfriend the night before or like, although that would be more on the mental side. But anyway, so that's first. I think first we have to take care of ourselves. Like that's the kind of the basic, and we should start there.
Right.
The second part, when we have taken care of ourselves, which I promise you, if you take care of these basic things, it's gonna be like 70 to 80% of the like you'll be it's going to be so much easier for you to then be in a calmer state of mind when you play. Because one more thing to say to that is because tennis is not separate from life. Like again, we who are in tennis is very easy to fall under the illusion that like this is my life and this is tennis. And the more you're in the bubble, it becomes more like I almost don't have a life and I only have tennis. And like tennis is my life. And we forget that, as I say all the time on this podcast when we talk, that we have to remember that we're human first and then tennis player later. So all these needs we have to take care of ourselves, our human needs, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is the common one, like first is the food and shelter and this, and then you have like friends and socialization and all this stuff. So once we have that, put that to the side. The second part, when we talk about the purely mental side, um, then we get into like triggers and what are the things that you're clinging on to that need to happen for you, that you have some musts or should haves, that this should happen, this must happen, we should break them. Why didn't we break them? I should have won that set. I should have like the should is the
Mm.
creating conditions. Should is a conditional word. Like you should do this. That's a condition, right? And Tony Robbins has a beautiful line that he says we should all over ourselves. And so there are all these conditions, these rules that we have for ourselves, like how things should be. And the moment that the conditions are broken, that they're not there, we get into this reactive state. We get unhappy. Like the unhappiness, being unhappy or being emotionally triggered, a lot of times means that the conditions of your environment are not matching the model of your world of how things should be. So if you believe at your core that you should win the set when you're break up and you don't, you have an emotional reaction because things are not as they should be in your world. If you think that this player is worse than you and therefore you should beat him and then you start losing, you have an emotional reaction because things are not as they should be. Because it's so important for us as people, like and our psyche, which is normal, right? Because we need things to be as they should be, because then we can orient ourselves in the world, in reality. The moment things are not as they should be, it's dangerous. Evolutionarily speaking, if you step on a cliff and the cliff should be stable and suddenly it's not, you can fall and kill yourself. So we very much like things to be as they should be, you know. And then so then we come now knowing that, now we come to the next part is like, okay, how many rules do you have? Because the more rules you have for how things should be, and the more concrete and strict the rules are, the more unhappy you will be. because it's much harder for things to be how they should be in your world. If you have too many shoulds, I should do this, I should do that, I shouldn't do that, that this shouldn't happen. Like the more you have of these, the less likely it is that the conditions will actually match all your rules all at once. So something will be always bothering you. So the real happy people, the people who can stay, calm and neutral and, things are as they should be. Because when I say happy, it doesn't mean you're like, oh my God, I'm so ecstatic. Because that's the opposite. Oh my God, I'm so ecstatic is actually that like I have like a should, like a very strong rule, and then it gets fulfilled. And I'm
Mm.
like, but still, but it's a tricky business because the moment it doesn't, then I'm like, oh my God. So what I mean about like calm, peaceful, exactly what you're saying, that you're just playing, you're focusing on next point, you're feeling neutral, you're feeling almost kind of empty, but like in a positive sense way. Like there's nothing happening too much. You're just there, is when things are as they should be. Which means the less rules you have, then the easier it is for you to get there. We see this with kids. The way you know that the kids are happy is when they're playing. When that's kind of like your the canary in the mine, the metaphor. The miners used to take a canary into the mine because a canary would I think like shriek when there was the what's it called, like the gas, the one that like that can come out from the mine, from the mountain, that can kill you, but we can, like, there's no smell to it.
Okay.
I think it's like the monoxide, the carbon monoxide or something. But the canary can actually smell it. So like the canary in the mine metaphor is, you take a canary in the mine, it gives you a signal in case like the gas is there. So the miners would know that they have to get out. So the signal from the child to let you know that on the other side the things are well is when the child is playing. Because when a child is playing, it's telling you that it feels that the environment is safe. So I can relax and play. An environment is safe means that things are as they should be. And since tennis is a game at the end of the day, and we perform our best when we play, where we are in that playful state, because literally we play tennis, we're exactly like that kid who we can only play when the environment is safe, when things are as they should be. And therefore, the more shoulds or shouldn'ts you have and the more rules you have, it's harder for things to be as they should be, and it's harder for you to play.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Interesting. And I was also thinking like um how important it is to really like ask yourself the question, what is my regret of the match? And then you can you can work with it for the next match. For the next match, you can set your goals, uh, in controllable goals, like things you really can control, and you can also control this. No, I mean you can control to set the expectation, and to also like really also trying hard, and also like trying to always remember the one liner for the return game, or the serve game, or whatever it is. And because it's not only try your best, because there are people who are trying the best until the last point and they're losing, but the problem is somewhere else. No, I mean.
So I think with the regret, I think the regret is letting you know that you broke one of your conditions.
Mhm.
So to use what I said before is, I should do this. I didn't. I feel regret. The problem is like you said perfectly, that the controllable part, and we talked about this before on the other episodes, like control what you can control, is this is where I differentiate between there is duty and there is responsibility. And this concept is very important because duty is like I should do something. And a lot of times we can place like a should on ourselves that is out of our control. Like I should beat that guy. But there's so many factors that can affect whether you win or lose. So it's not in your control. And that's actually why it's a should. It's not a must. The difference between should and must, the should is like I should. Part of me knows I might not, but I should. It's the same like, we tell ourselves like I should finally like whatever, get my car cleaned, or I should like come on time, like I came late today, or I should do this or should do that. Like we never meet our shoulds because some part of us knows that we might not. So we keep it in the should file, and in this file we keep beating ourselves up over it. The moment it becomes a must is like you set a standard. Like I must do this. The careful thing there is that there are people and their kids, which is very sad, is like they get to a point even like I must be this person. And that's when they're really suffering.
Mm.
When they set a standard which is out of their control. But I truly believe that the real decision, when it's a must, actually only comes when you choose willingly, and that's the responsibility. Because I think it's still a should. Like I think what I just said, I don't think it happens because if some part of you knows that maybe I can't do it, so there's something outside of me I can't control, it still is a should. I should do this. But the moment you say I must, it's only things that you truly believe in that might happen. And it goes to what you said about what you can control is like I must move well, because that you can control. Or I must like focus. Like I set a standard. Like this is my standard. For Rafa Nadal, exactly, it was a must that I go after every ball. And we know the story about how he was young and Uncle Tony like told him that there's no lines. He literally made him practice against people, and he like told people that like there's no out for you. You can hit whatever. And Rafa had to like run after everything. And he was teaching him that our standard is not to run after a ball that's going within the court. Our standard is so much bigger. So then in a real match, it's so easy to get to the ball. Where somebody else's standard might be, I only go after balls that are kind of close to me. If it's going kind of close to the line, I'm hoping it's going out.
Mm.
So what defines us are our standards, our musts, and the shoulds is what we use to beat ourselves up and to feel regret about and to feel bad about and to feel pressure from. So yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. And I was also like testing because I always um like used to care what other people think,
Mhm.
and now I'm like testing it out somehow. Like because I stay true to myself and because I stay in the growth mindset and because I try to learn in every game, I know that the future might look bright, or maybe I can go to the much higher highs than if I just stay and just to defend my position,
Mhm.
like it goes or defend my name or whatever. But I play my game and I play my life and I
Mhm.
play with my rules, and it's much more fun to do it this way than to always be scared not to lose against, I don't know, weaker opponents or whatever. But I'm practicing for the next, or I just practicing to be the best I can be, even though with the I mean I'm too old already to be top, or something, but still, I mean, for the level here, it's like it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing you said is that they're your rules,
Yeah.
that's it, and that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between the should and the must. The must being the standard, because the your rules means you set the standard for yourself.
Yeah.
The should comes from outside that you learned before that you never fully accepted as yours, but it became
Mm,
a rule that
mm,
someone put on you, this rule that you accepted maybe back in the day, and it's not serving you anymore. At some point, maybe it was helping,
yeah.
but now it's an old rule that needs to get updated, but it's still there. It's like I should do this, I should do that, like I should care what people think about me. I should be the person that people like. I should blah blah blah. All these shoulds. Um, it's conditional. This is where the word conditional love comes from.
Hmm. Hmm.
'Cause the love, and we all have that. It's normal. No parent is perfect, and it's completely normal. This is how personality is shaped. The personality is shaped by the fact that parents create, like, have different values, and therefore they have different shoulds. You should be like this, and you shouldn't be like that. And then as you're growing up, you learn, like, hey, I should be like this, should be like that. So it creates this form, let's say, like making a, like form out of like sand, like these different shapes or cakes or whatever. So it forms you into who you are, your personality based on these rules that this way you can go or you should go, and this way you can't go and you shouldn't go. So you go that way. And some other people and some other family, like it's completely opposite. Like exactly these things you shouldn't do and exactly these things you should be doing. So that person's going to be a completely different personality. And probably
Yeah.
when the two of you meet, they're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're going to be like, what are you doing? You know, because you're completely different rules.
Yeah.
And it's part of the maturing and part of growing is kind of recognizing, and it's not bad, like I said, because those rules also create your strengths and also weaknesses. So in part of maturing and recognizing and being like, later is recognizing, finding out like, okay, what rules do I have I absorbed growing up, and where are they helping me and where are they not helping me? And in the situations where they're not helping me, I have to evaluate like, okay, what is the rule here that I'm applying that's causing me over and over again to feel pressure, to feel regret, to feel
Mm, mm,
this,
mm, mm,
like for example, like in tennis, like I said, like I should beat this person is not a good rule.
mm,
Why? Because it's not in there's so many things that can happen and just put so much pressure.
mm,
So you have to figure out like if those rules are serving you or they're hurting you. 'Cause not all rules are bad. Um, so wherever you feel, I always say, like my saying is like, if you want to find out what you're most afraid of, what you're most not accepting about yourself, look at the place where you have the most rules.
mm,
Look at where you have the most shoulds and shouldn'ts. Like this should be this way and this shouldn't be that way. At that place, you'll find out that's because the rules are keeping you safe. They're keeping you from being that person that you couldn't have been for your parents to love you and accept you. So it's very dangerous to go there. So around that, you have all the shoulds and shouldn'ts, right? So
mm.
protecting you.
Interesting. And that maybe brings me to the first questions, that parents and unconditional love and whatever.
Now we go
Uh,
into the first question. Well, this was the basement. That was the
yeah, that was the basement,
the
right?
floor
Or
level.
yeah, maybe okay, so maybe this is the second one, but that was the beginning. And yeah, this week I spoke with one tennis parent, and we were just talking about another girl, and he said about her that she plays like she owes something to her mother.
Mm.
And that kind of strikes me, and it was interesting comment. And also it reminded me of a period in my life where I used to play most of the time alone, or I had a coach, and we were just on the same level. But then when I was coached by Miroslav Mečir, I felt a little bit this way. I felt on the tournaments that I owe him so much. Like I have to make the results like to be worth of to be his player. And I remember at that time I lost like three times from the match points in the final or semifinal, and then in the next 2 months I lost two times in the final or whatever. So it was kind of like I had so much pressure to really win the big tournaments, the challengers, or so I also felt this way. So I was just wondering, what
Yeah.
is there? What do you think?
Well, first, let me ask you because it's we can you can use the example like what for you in terms of you said like to be worth being his player, I had to win this. What would it look like for you? Like, how would you know that you're worth to be his player? I mean, would it be like, for example, like they would, if you didn't win, he would give you less attention or less energy, or he wouldn't want to train you, or what was the fear, or on the other hand, what was the reward of like, what would it look like that it would make you feel like I'm worth the player? What would he have to do or say or be like for
Yeah,
you?
I mean, the whole situation was, I guess, from the beginning, the setup was kind of strange because it was like we started to work with each other in December, and I thought he's gonna come like two times a week to coach me. But in the end of the December, I realized he's there every day twice. On
Mhm.
on all of my practices, he's there.
Mhm.
And I was at that time, I was like, I don't know, 250. So I didn't make much money, but I asked him after the month that what does he want to, I mean, how much should I pay him? And he said that I don't need the money. If you win something big, you gonna give me back then.
I see.
That was the first thing he said to me. And the
Mm.
second thing, we were just discussing, we were just eating lunch, and he goes like, okay, when it goes everything after plan, I believe you can be main draw for the US Open.
Mhm.
And I was
He
250.
said it, and he said this in December.
Yeah, he said it in December.
So it was like you have 8 months or
Yeah,
9 months
yeah,
to, yeah.
yeah. So these were two sentences that I had in my head.
Mm. Which you can see how it makes total sense that you would feel pressured. And it's great that you're saying this because it's a beautiful example of like where does that I owe the parent or the coach something comes from, because what happens is there's a contract that's created, but actually it's not a real contract, but it is a real contract emotionally. So for you, in your case, in your example, you felt like because he was coming twice a day every day to the practices, and he said like, okay, when you win something big then you'll pay me, and then he said like you'll be main draw there. So in your mind that was like, okay, so if he now he's continuing coming twice a day every day, that means I owe him main draw US Open money.
Yeah.
But the problem here you see is that you never actually agreed to that.
Mm, mm.
This is the main issue. that was you felt like you were bound by a contract that you actually never signed. You never chose because he chose to come every day, twice a day. You didn't, that was not the agreement, right? The fact that you asked him what you owe him is normal. And the fact that he said that, fine, like when you win something big, you will give me, is also fine. The problem is that you didn't recognize that you don't owe him anything because he's making the choice and he's taking the risk of maybe you don't win anything. And clearly, therefore, he's doing it because it's giving him something else. Probably like he loves training you, it's giving him passion. So that's why his payment is other than just besides money and maybe more important for him. Maybe he already has money or whatever. Like you don't know the situation, doesn't matter, but you didn't recognize that the reason he said that was because he was already getting paid in different ways. And therefore, you start feeling like, oh shit, like I owe him this. And you felt the pressure that there was a contract that you signed that you thought that he brought, but there was no contract. So that was and the reason I'm saying that and using your example as beautiful is because this is exactly what happens with kids. Even with little kids, what happens is that I'll tell you my example. So my example of my mom is like my example was I remember to this day very clearly that my mom like saying, stuff like, in my family it was a lot of talk about like money and how much it costs and all that stuff. And then I remember vividly my mom using the line something a lot like don't worry, I trust you will be great because if I didn't believe in it, like we wouldn't support you so much or something like that. Like I wouldn't be putting so much money if I didn't trust that you can be great.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing.
Mm,
It's creating a contract that like if you're not great, I have wasted all the money.
mm.
And I'm not saying like my mom, like, both my mom or my Samaj, they're not doing it like consciously or intentionally or whatever. But for a kid, and you were not even a kid, but like maybe it was, it was a model that you saw with the father or somewhere, like, like you had to prove something or this, like you were disposed. You had that in you, that set up to like see that as that's the kind of contract that I'm used to from my family. I'm not used to that somebody just like gives me stuff and because they like me and they're enjoying this and that you know so so that's how owing happens because it's literally in the word. When you owe somebody something, that's like you signed, like in a bank you signed the contract that like I owe you this for giving me this. And the
Mm.
problem with parent child is what I tell a lot of parents is you have to look at the money that you spend for the tennis on your and for anything else on your child. You have to look at it as a gift, not as an investment. Because if you're looking at it as an investment, then it becomes a transactional relationship where your child owes you something because you want your money back on the investment. So even the saying that we have that the parents say, like, I'm investing in my child. No, you're giving to your child.
Right. And I heard a nice quote from also one of our friend, tennis player. He said his father always told him that I'm giving you this, the support, the money, and everything for the tennis, and you pay me back if you do the same for your kid one day.
Hmm.
And that's nice.
That's nice. That's nice. That's cool. Although I would say like we'll see if the how much pressure he will have to be a good father then, right?
Yeah.
But I think I mean it's I think parents should really think about like like how much money I'm going to put and if I want to put and really make a conscious decision. Like that's why I said only if you make a conscious decision like I'm doing this for the child and I'm consciously doing it with the like I'm just like the money's gone. It's a gift. It's yours.
Yeah.
And it needs to be like I need to think through it actually before they do that, right? It's like it's the same. Like I want to, you want to give someone your car. Like you need to first really think through it if you really want to do that. Because if you don't think through it, and there's some part of you that doesn't actually want to do that, you're in trouble because you're gonna start resenting that person you gave that car to.
Mm,
You're gonna see the person around driving the car, and you're gonna start feeling like you're hating the person,
mm,
and it's not even the person's fault because when you were making the transaction, you looked very happy giving the car. And it's the same with the child. You have to be very careful that you give the child the support, the money, and you go with them to tournaments and all this. You have to be very careful because if you forget yourself, if you put the child above yourself, this is why I love the in the plane, first put the oxygen mask on yourself and then on the child. And it's like how selfish.
mm.
And the reason is if you don't do that, if you put the child above yourself, some part of you can start actually resenting and hating the child. And and the child's gonna feel that in ways that and you might not even be conscious of it. You might not even be conscious of how you might at certain points become passive aggressive at the kid or just ignore them or whatever, pay them back in ways that and they don't even know why you're being mean or and you don't even know why you're because it's not conscious.
And it starts from the very young age, because from the very young age they are like, it's very repetitive, like what you can do with the 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. But when you don't care about yourself and you just try to be the best parent you can be, but you are doing it and it's so boring and whatever, then it can already happen there, like a little bit.
The biggest what I see is the biggest misconception or the illusion is that like parents are becoming like they're living for their kids. And what happens is that, a great example was like, from Jordan Peterson, and he said that you get an example of like imagine you have some friends come over to your house and you haven't disciplined your child well enough that doesn't know that it shouldn't maybe interrupt you when you speak or like whatever, and it comes and it's like loud, whatever, and you can't have a conversation with your friends. And it's actually not the child's fault. It's your fault because you haven't taught the child that like now the adults are talking and like can you wait and be polite and you can ask, I will get back to you and all this. There's no respect. And because you haven't actually taught the child respect. Why? Because you haven't put yourself first of like, hey, I respect myself and therefore I have also my time and you have your time and then what happens is the child interrupts you. Some part of you actually starts being angry at the kid because you can't have a conversation with your friends. And what you do is maybe the next day or in 2 days, without knowing it consciously, it's just as simple as the child will come and show you a picture they draw or something, and you ignore them as payback. And you're not even conscious of this. But the child is the victim there because the child doesn't know why you just ignored them. The child doesn't know like why you. I just wanted to show you like why you ignoring me. Like it feels hurt and doesn't know why. What they did. Why don't they know? Because it happened yesterday or 2 days ago. The child's not gonna connect or and there's the same thing that happens in relationship later on, right? Like we don't say to the person exactly in the moment what they've done or what hurt us, and then we punish them later, and then they don't even know why. So these contracts are being created all the time, and we have to be very conscious of who owes who what and this. And with kids, the kid's gonna be perfectly fine even if they don't play tennis. So if you really don't if you don't have the money or you whatever, or you don't feel like you really want to do this consciously and selflessly, that it's a gift, I'm giving it away, and whatever happens, happens, I don't mind, then don't do it.
Yeah, and that's bring me to the to the next question because uh,
Perfect.
about the perfect, but about the you are already connecting everything all together. About the things that we were talking about switching from I mean 14 to 15 or to go to the puberty, and I ask Kaya. I asked her how was it for her. And one player, she's 15 now, and she said like from her point of view, what was the difference that she went to the puberty or what changed? And he said beautiful thing that she said beautiful thing that I realized somehow that I don't need to do only things they are telling me to do, but I can do the things I want to do.
Mhm.
And that was kind of interesting
That's
for me.
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
now I'm also realizing it with my son, who we have a good relationship. And I used to talk with him a lot, but now I started to feel that he doesn't want to talk that much. He wants to be more alone. He wants to go out a little bit, and for me it's like also wow. And it happened like you said with your player, like so quick.
Mhm. Yeah, that can happen like overnight. And and for a parent or for a coach, it can be very confusing because you have to adapt so quickly.
Mm.
Um, this is where it's like going from clay to grass.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, like, what can I say about this? I think what's interesting for me, I remember what I was, studying when we know in adolescence, in this time, what happens. It's very interesting. It's literally in the brain. So there's some wirings that have been there since childhood, and there is in this developmental stage, there's some time period where literally it's almost like can imagine it simplistically like little fireworks where these connections, some of them are being burned, some are being opened up. And this is when there's a lot of learning can happen, a lot of changes are happening, and this is when exactly parents say, like, I don't even know who this child is. Because the whole personality, like, and it's literally the brain is rewiring itself. And this is also why a lot of times they can get very emotional, they can be confused or get aggressive or this or that because they're going, there's a lot of hormonal changes, there's a lot of things happening. So the one of the main things to remember there and so important is to not take it personally. And this is the hardest job emotionally for the parent or for the coach because suddenly it's an ego check because suddenly like this cute little kid who was always looking at you like you're God and you're the person that they love and whatever you say I will do and all that stuff suddenly is like I don't care who you are and leave me alone. And that can be very like hard on the ego and the self-worth and like am I doing something wrong, like what's happening, like did I do something, or all kinds of different questions can arise, and it's very easy to also look at it like there's something wrong with them. If you don't check your ego and you get hurt, is the saying, the hurt people. You can actually hurt them when you feel hurt because you feel like, oh. suddenly they're not respecting me, and like they're like they don't like me and whatever. I'm just trying to help, and they're not accepting my help, and all this. And then you can start like, oh, like they're, this is like this is where the adolescents or teenagers get the bad rap, the bad, like, all like these teenagers is terrible. So I think the problem is we approach it from that label, that ego. When it's her that puts a label like, oh, it's just teenagers, which makes the problem much worse. This is where a lot of the adolescents and teenagers actually become very, like, fighting with the parents, and because part of it is healthy because they need that space, but it doesn't have to be fighting. It's because when you understand what I just said, that there's literal changes happening in them and the hormones and stuff, and that's why that's happening. It's not because they're mean or because they're rude or because they're disrespectful or whatever. They're just lost in all this process and they're trying to figure it out. And because they feel lost and they're trying to figure it out, sometimes they can be very sensitive, like, leave me alone, like this. I'm trying to figure it out. Um, So it's totally normal, and it's important to create space for that, and to widen the space, because the main change is that the small kid was like, I need you close to me, holding my hand because I want to feel safe. And suddenly it's like, no, I need like much more space. And this is normal when you see the teenagers start closing the door on their room and like, leave me alone. I want to be alone in my room. I'm going out. And this, like, they want their space. And it's important to give them the space, but at the same time to let them feel, but I'm still there. Because if you don't check that ego properly, and like I said, like her, you can very easily be like, okay, fine, like, go. Like, you don't want me? Fine, go. And you disconnect out of hurt. Like, suddenly I'm not so important to you. Like, you don't respect me, you don't like me anymore. Fine, like, you can do whatever you want. And then you stop being actually there for them. So don't, it's very important to not let yourself get fooled by that like they don't need you. They still need the roof over their head. You're still providing them with the containment and the food. They can't take care of themselves yet. They don't make their own money, they don't have their own place to live, etc. So they're still vulnerable. So you have to remember that and still keep that space, but not just physically, like, fine, like, I'm not gonna kick you out, you have a house, but also emotionally, like, that you're still present, that you're still there whenever they want to come, and then they can come themselves. They can come themselves and ask a question when they're ready. But you're there patiently waiting, but you're there no matter whatever's happening. I'm not interfering, I'm giving space, but I'm here. I'm not leaving.
And this is, I mean, so important. And I can say that uh, I'm not really understanding, or I'm not really clear. And that's also in the other question that we have, like, how to be there for the
Mhm.
players who are very emotional on the tennis court, and to being there, and like you beautifully said, that it can be like, okay, you don't need me, okay, do whatever you want, and I'm like I'm disconnecting. And that's just such a thin line between to be still connected and to be there for them, and to not be there for them.
Mhm.
And I guess I'm not, I don't know if many people know how to be there for them. That's why the question.
Well, I think it's because many people don't know how to be there for themselves. You know, we have to go back to the oxygen example on the plane. If you're first giving the oxygen to the child and not to yourself, then you actually don't know how to be there for yourself even. So how do you want to be there for the child?
Hmm.
And the problem is what happens is that the parent then creates this like attachment in mesh relationship with the child. And to use the metaphor, it's kind of like you're sharing the oxygen because we have to be connected, so we have to be dependent. So we're both like we have the same oxygen mask together with the child. It's like we're putting it on it, like there's just one mask. And what happens is that when the child's like, well, I don't want to sit with you anymore in the plane, then you freak out because like, but where is my oxygen gonna be then? Now I have to choose between myself and the kid. And that's what creates the real pain when you have that kind of dynamic because you still love the child, so you don't want to like take their oxygen, but like you also like don't want to suffocate yourself, so you also need to breathe. And then you're in this dynamic of like feeling this pressure and like I don't know how to actually like what do I do? So the issue starts way, way, way earlier when the child is a little cute child and is vulnerable and is this. And it's what I said before, as we become hooked on this idea that like I have to be for the child 100%, which means I don't have a life. And at first it works. Why? Because the child is happy sharing the oxygen with you because it's close and it's this and it's rewarding for you because you're even close and the child is loving and this and this. The moment the child wants to disconnect, wants to become a person of their own, have their own seat, have their own oxygen mask, it's threatening to you. It's threatening to the parent. Suddenly I'm going to lose my oxygen. And that's when those clashes happen. Like you can fine, you can go, whatever. But that's manipulation actually, right? Because what that's saying is like I'm gonna pretend to be hurt because maybe the child is gonna show me like, no, I still love you, don't worry, like or whatever, you know. It's still fighting for that thing. So the number one rule is that you have to have a life first. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, that's why the child is even more confused when they're an adolescent. Because if you don't have a life, they come to puberty, to adolescence, and they come to the point of like trying to figure out, okay, what kind of life I want to have. That's when they start thinking about it first time, of like, I'm gonna be an adult one day, and this, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? All this. If they don't have a role model at home, that they can look up to and I see, okay, like that's the first role model of like, okay, if I'm thinking of, okay, what do I want my life to be? I look first at the people I know the best. I look at the parents, okay, what life do they have? And if the parent doesn't have a life because their whole life was all about the child, then the child has like no example there. So then they're much more confused of what do I do? Because I don't want that. Those are the kids who look at the parents, and you see this so much nowadays. The kids who are like, all I know is I just don't want to have the life of like my parents.
Yeah.
Like I have to achieve something amazing or whatever because like I look at my parents and going to work and they look so unhappy and like I don't want that kind of life. And I put so much pressure on the child. Why? Because like the
Mm.
fact that the parents are going to work and this it's a regular life. It's a normal regular life and that can be also satisfying but that's not enough for the kid because they don't see it as enough because the parents look so unhappy in this so they feel like, oh, I have to be a billionaire or an astronaut or a number one in the world or because only then I'll be happy. And now with social media you see like all these people look happy on Instagram, so I must like be, skydiving in Dubai and like have all these women and cars or whatever, and then I put so much pressure on them to be that, because otherwise I won't be happy. So the parent needs to put an oxygen mask on themselves first.
Mm.
You know, have a good partner there, like work on their relationship first with themselves, then with the partner with whom you have the kids. That's your support. And the kids will be, like I said before, when the environment is safe, the kids will can play and it'll be fun.
And also they don't have that much pressure, so they not gonna become that emotional on the tennis court. So and it goes, yeah.
Yeah.
And
You can I was talking to a player the other day and it was about this topic of like I don't like I have to be really great at tennis because I don't want to have like this life that like my parents have, just going to work and just so much pressure you could feel because it's like we talked about other episodes of this podcast. It's about like the success. It's not about the lifestyle. It's not about do I want this kind of life. It's about I have to have this success to be happy. There's a beautiful, do you know Chris Williamson? It's like the podcast. He has the podcast
yeah,
of
yeah,
modern wisdom.
yeah, he's perfect.
He's amazing, and I just heard him somewhere, and he says he loves to ask this question that when you look at someone you really admire, you should ask yourself a question of like, what did it take for them to achieve that life? What were the sacrifices they had to make? Because it's very easy to look at, Rafa and be like, of course I want that. I want 14. Growing Garrett, like Garrett says also, of course I want that. But do you also want the injuries and the everyday work and struggling and playing even when you don't want to and this and traveling and living in hotels all the time for 25 years of your life being on the road and like and if you say yes, then maybe you can also have that maybe. But that's not what you're looking at. You're looking at I won 14 French Opens. Like, wouldn't that be nice? So that's a great thing he said that it's very important when we're dazzled, when we're like, oh my God, like this is what I want to be like, to also look at, okay, but do you also want the process? Or do you just want the outcome? And if you also want the process, then it's great because then you found your true passion and you found your calling and you say like, okay, like that's the lifestyle I want to have. I would love to do that. I know it's not going to be fun all the time, but like overall, like I would like to do that. And the funny thing happens then if you actually do that. The funny thing is that you'd stop caring about the outcome because you're actually enjoying the process so much. And then the even funnier thing, and then there's the great thing up, that's when the outcome comes. And that's the huge paradox.
Mm.
All that.
And I wonder because I don't know who said it, if it was Bill Gates or one of
Mm.
these billionaires that the question was like can it be thought taught the will to succeed or something like in those lines, and he goes like, if you look at Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, that they had some, I mean, struggles when they were a child with the maybe father or whatever, or Djokovic in the war, Serbia, whatever, to somehow to prove themselves like out of the trauma or something like that, like the
Yeah.
really big success stories comes a lot from the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense. It kind of builds the hunger, you know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I think we that's why it's called the hunger.
yeah,
Why do we call that the hunger? Because literally it comes from when you're hungry, you will do anything to eat.
exactly.
And those people who are the most successful. Those are the ones who are able to do anything to get there. That's why they actually get there. Because for us as humans, we're very adaptable because it's adapt or die. So if you make the game into like either I do this or I die, then you're gonna do it. But what is the cost? What is the mental state of those people? You know, that's the question. It's like like this Chris Williamson talks about that. It's like you see so many movies with the montage of like the training montage, like how it was coming from nothing, it became this, and there's the 2 minute with the music, like the Rocky, like he's training and this and like working hard and waking up early and all that. And he goes, we see these movies all the time, but we never see a movie of someone trying to learn how to relax.
Mm.
We never see a movie of a guy who's like sitting on the beach in a chair with like a mojito and it's hard for him to actually stay sitting there because he have to check his emails all the time, or he has to like he feels like he should work out or like chase some goal, and he's like trying to teach himself how to relax and how to actually let go. Like we never see those movies. And it's the same skill. Like it's as much of a skill as the other one. Like some people need to learn how to be disciplined, how to wake up, how to kick themselves in the butt and actually go get stuff done. But then there are also people who need to learn how to actually enjoy and relax and accept and you know. And I believe my belief is that actually it's like it transcends, like it's like kind of like the yin yang again, like the whole is bigger than the parts, is like they cooperate. Like when you bring them both together, this is what you see with Roger or the best Roger or best Alcaraz. It's like they are they're having fun. They're the guy on the beach with the mojito at the same time as they're disciplined and working hard. They bring together those both aspects and they transcend the one or the other. That's why they're unique because you can see with Roger, for example, it doesn't apply to him. Like from Roger, you don't have a feeling that there was some hunger and he was like traumatized and that's why he had to become this or something. Like I don't know about you, but at least I don't get this feeling from him that like maybe I don't know, I might be totally wrong, but my sense of him is that he just really enjoyed the lifestyle I was talking about before. That was like really he loved tennis and he was passionate about tennis and he he loved to do that. That's I heard Moratoglu talk about sometime where back in the day there was doing some show and someone from Rogers' team came to him and that was back in like on TV and said like if they can send the DVD from the yesterday's episode to their team because they didn't see it. And he was like, well, like and he found like Roger was like watching every episode and like there were everything related to tennis he was watching. He knew everything. That shows how much, and the best players, they're obsessed. They love tennis. They watch it all the time. They like it's they just it's they just love it.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. I guess that's it. I
Yeah, it
think it
was
was
fun. It was funny how they how the questions kind of connected. It was
mm,
cool. Well, thank you, thank you. It was great questions, thank you
great
for sharing
answers.
the personal story with your old coach, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. Really cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
All
See
right.
you. Bye.